This is Esther Lin from MMAfighting.com, and I wanted to share the work I do for Invicta Fighting Championships to give a little insight into working on the promoter side of Invicta FC 8. On Wednesday night of fight week, we arranged some time with a few fighters to shoot workouts for videos to release during the week. We then faced off Tara La Rosa and Roxanne Modafferi in a discussion of their upcoming rubber match. At the end, we posed for a few fun shots, mainly matchmaker Julie Kedzie diffusing an imagined animosity. The next day, we do portraits of the fighters. These photos are used in the show graphics, promos, future posters, etc. I've done this a few times for the UFC, for example, this season of The Ultimate Fighter. I've done my best to light them in a way that makes them consistent with previous shoots so that the images will match up in graphics across multiple events, but also I try to have a little fun. I've photographed most of these women at previous Invicta shows and really enjoy photographing all their varying personalities. On the media side at UFC events, I am at the whim of existing lighting, and when I bring my own, it's mostly to accent available sources. But here in my portable studio, I get to slow down my frantic pace and collaborate with these talented fighters in bringing out their fierce forms. This is also a great time to take team photos and other images outside our standard poses for art, just because fighters don't have enough well-lit images of themselves, especially these women who've been grinding it out on the scene for so long. Before Invicta, there were not many opportunities for top women to fight for organizations that would spend this kind of time on their imagery. I worked for Strikeforce previously, and that's actually where I met many of these fighters. It's weigh-in day, and each day has been long but rewarding at every turn. It was heartwarming to hear the friendly applause as La Rosa and Modafferi faced off. Invicta FC is one of those events I love to work simply because of how much I get out of it emotionally. Everyone in Invicta feels like family. We're so small and tight-knit. It's fight night. I'm wandering around the locker rooms and I see Tanya Evinger doing her own hair. She says I've captured her doing this before, and I must have since I've been photographing her since back in the Elite XC days. Other women have someone braid their hair for them, but Evinger says she likes to do this herself because it is a calming ritual. In another locker room down the hall, Irian Gomez is getting her hands wrapped. And Jin Yufrey is methodically pacing in the halls among the spectators filling into this beautiful Art Deco auditorium. Yufrey and her cornermen are solemn, focused. Opposite in their approach, Stephanie Agink is seated on the floor with her corner Shayna Baszler, who's surprised by Roxanne Modafferi as I'm trying to grab a candid shot, so we go ahead and take a posed one. The fights begin with fire. From the first bout to the last, each bout would be filled with the action for which Invicta is famous. This show was our first on UFC Fight Pass, and the first show I've ever shot at eye level. We had a mishap with the number of camera platforms, and it decided to seize an opportunity to shoot standing, level with the cage, like the early UFCs. This fight. The hard-hitting Yufrey lived up to everything I'd heard about her and knocked Esquivel down in the opening round, rushing in to finish. But Esquivel survived and boxed her way back into the fight. It was a really heart-pounding, thrilling match, and I spent a lot of time rewatching the fight because it was so exciting. In the end, Yufrey came out of the fight with a very large cut on her right eye. When I came to photograph her, she put her thumbs up. A proud competitor showing me that a little blood is nothing. The night continued to wow as Mexican fighter Alexa Grasso made an impressive Invicta debut against Ashley Cummins, showing off her crisp boxing and submissions. Grasso's teammate Irene Aldana then knocked down Peggy Morgan twice, finished her fight with a choke. One of the challenges with eye-level shooting is ground fighting, as you're less likely to get a clear image of the top fighter's face. Peggy Morgan's face was painfully swollen by the barrage of bricks Aldana leveled at the Ultimate Fighter competitor. And in the debut of the lightweight division, there was no shortage of the promised violence this larger weight class could bring. A benefit of eye-level shooting is this ridiculously close perspective, a strange, surreal proximity to the action. A minute in, I could see a hematoma had formed under Rothenhauser's eye. There's serious power in this weight class, and that certainly showed. My heart broke for Veronica, who did a great job selling this matchup, but ended up on the wrong end of a knockout blow. I don't disparage the hype at all. I love it. I encourage it for those who have the guts. I love that she put herself out there, and I hope she continues to do so, and I can't wait to see a new and improved Rothenhauser back in the cage. When Roxanne Modafferi walked out, there was a sudden sense of joy in the auditorium. Then Tara La Rosa came dancing out, and a night of fights suddenly became a party with a lot of friends. People were clapping along, and Roxy smiled from across the cage. But when the bell rang, Modafferi was all business and eager to demonstrate all the gains she's made in the last year since moving back to the United States. This fight was a fun stand-up affair. Different from their first two grappling center bouts, but the same competitiveness you'd expect from two veterans who have been at this game for over a decade. And in the end, Modafferi was victorious and let out sweet exclamations of happiness. It flooded the arena. I studied her coach John Wood's face, and he was so proud as his student's hand was raised. I wandered back into the halls and found Irian Gomez listening to music, stepping along the wall, and the lamps created a pretty natural vignette for me. But that calm would falter in the fight as Evinger would fight through early danger and armbar Gomez. The fight was just 3.5 minutes, but the intensity of it was electrifying. Then, the first of two title fights, Katja Kankampa marched down the ramp, the killer buddy. Stephanie Egging was ready too. She ran to the cage and ran straight into the fight. Her aggressive style propelled her into so many near finishes over and over. Egging's jab tagged the Finnish grappler repeatedly, but Kankampa survived, staying in the fight, relieved as each round ended. Egging never let up. She kept trying to finish, and that great fearlessness was fantastic to watch. But the wily veteran seized her first opportunity, which came in the last round, and sunk in what she calls a dragon sleeper choke. Egging's body sank. The snowflake remained there as the Finn cried out, stumbled across the cage, and collapsed elated. Kankampa overflowed in the way many fighters do when emerging victorious from a brutal battle. That joy that breaks its way out of your eyes and body as you shake in triumph. And then, it's time for the main event as Yasuko Tamada approaches the cage. This feels like what it is to enter the cage. Suddenly, the space around you expands and the world is too large, too dark, and the few lights there are, they are pointed in your eyes. And simultaneously, the world has shrank. You are here, alone. All these people in the frame are but ghosts, and there's only the woman waiting her turn to walk down that ramp to destroy you. Before the impending duel, there is still the civility of sportsmanship, a ritual we've come to expect. The round begins, and the happy-go-lucky Watterson dissolves, and a ferocity comes forward. Tamada had never been finished in her entire career, and Watterson aimed to be the first from the outset. A deluge of strikes, I watched the corner at the end of each round, waiting for the doctor to stop the fight. But every round, Tamada came forward, reaching for that elusive takedown even as Watterson punished her efforts. This one, in particular, hurt to shoot. I heard it, standing there just a few feet away. I am the same height as these fighters. I am watching this. Barely a chain link fence between us, but I am eye level with them. My ribs ache in sympathy. And finally, it is done. Megumi Fuji comforts Tamada in the corner, embracing for what seemed an eternity. I tried to eavesdrop, but the music was so loud, and perhaps Fuji said nothing. Perhaps there was just peace. The instant the fight was over, Michelle Waterson's frightening savagery faded, and she beamed. Waterson picked up her daughter and celebrated. Her daughter is holding a little horn, and if you pay attention during the fights, you can actually hear Araya's hands honking that glittered horn. I love how everyone's facing forward here, except Waterson's daughter, who is firmly gazing at her mother. We did an interview with Michelle prior to her fight against Jessica Penne, where she discussed how she felt she could be champion because her gym mate John Jones was champion too. And why not her? It warms me to see this 5'3" woman, a champion, a mother, here surrounded and being congratulated by the same coaches who are responsible for many of the top fighters in the world. At the end of the press conference, I got the two champions together for a quick photo. Working for Invicta has been a great experience, and I'm glad I'm able to share it with all of you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week in Vegas.